We're going to delve more into China's stock rescue plan, and we're joined by Chaw. He is director at China Knowledge Consulting. Thank you so much for coming on, Charles.
Thank you for having me.
What do you think? Is this going to be enough to actually shore up a lot of the consumer confidence that's really waned for the stock market in China?
This is another step that's taken since early this year we've seen. It is to protect investors. Now, let me give you an overview of the stock market. There are about 120 security firms in China with 3,000 branches, with only 2 billion turnover. And obviously we see closing down of securities, and also security firms doing proprietary trading, illegal operation using investor funds. So Jianing investments come into the picture to do some housekeeping.
Wow, so there's still going to be more shakeup, because there's been, what, a couple dozen brokerage houses that have already been shut down, but when you put it in those numbers, there has to be more consolidation and more shutdowns. So there's going to be a lot more unrest in this the brokerage sector.
Yeah, but for institutional investors, for players like Merrill Lynch, Goldman, BNP, CLSA, UBS, this is an exciting time to come in, because it is restructuring, and Beijing, which is under the central government, is very supportive of getting these foreigners to come in to do housekeeping, revamp it, restructure, make it healthier. And because there's so much money in the market among the Chinese to invest in the stock market. Now, be very surprised, 70% of the investments are individual investors. That compared to developed market, it is not healthy.
So when you say that this is just kind of one step of many, what do you think the next step will be then that we'll hear from China?
After this, we're going to see, our prediction is there's definitely an opening of investments into China stocks. A shares and B shares will one day come into one, and they will welcome investors. Now, if you look back for the past few months, now look at June till today, a span of 3-4 months, the market increased to 20%. Why? Because CSRC, so-called China Securities Regulatory Commission, introduced measures. Now, the most basic problem was solved. Okay? At least it is intention to solve. There is allowed non-tradable shares to be traded. And what do I mean by non-tradable shares? 2/3 of the stock market in Shanghai and Shenzhen are not allowed to trade among the private investors or institutional investors. They can only transfer shares between companies to companies. So that is opening up, and I think that's good news. And then now comes the brokerage houses. They are doing a housekeeping. Yeah. And what I'm going to see is the next coming 2 to 3 years, more IPOs, more M&A make possible.
But you seem pretty optimistic about the cleanup that's being done, but timing-wise, is it still too early for an average investor out there to get into the Chinese markets? Should they wait until we see more steps from China?
Only so-called QFII, qualified foreign institutional investors, are allowed to come in.
Yeah.
At the moment, there are about 30 plus of them. Even as wealthy individuals, you probably will need these companies like UBS, for example, to buy into A shares or B shares. Okay, but at the moment, we don't see a lot of such interest yet, because it is still quite close up. But in time to come, the Chinese government has intention to welcome more investments into stock market. That's for sure, because they need a healthy capital market, to run the economy. Just give you one very good example: Sussex, state-owned assets. There are hundreds or even thousands of big companies. They have to go into IPO, be it overseas, but they would prefer to do it within the country, Shanghai, Shenzhen. There's one area, and there's so many SME, potential SME. Anytime if you buy Singapore standard, they could be just qualified for a listing. So you see, there are a lot of interest, and there are many qualified companies, or so-called potential companies, to attract investments into China.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. That has to be your last word. Thank you so much, Charles.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. That was Charles Chaw. He is with China Knowledge Consulting.